And guess what? That's right. Here we are again. We are in another amazing week. I'm having an amazing week. Are you having an amazing week? We're talking about playing your own game. In fact, we are moving from playing your own game with that idea of how do we finish strong. That's what we introduced earlier this week as we talk about the things that we need to do and this concept of playing until the whistle blows or playing until the buzzer buzzes, playing until we've reached our goal, playing until we've gotten to the point where we are happy with where we are as we continue moving through our metabolic space. We're talking about the reset window. We're talking about why the midway matters. That's what we're doing right now. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living. That's right, you've heard it. We're living those limitless lives. That's where we are right now as we continue to move through this week and move through what we're doing in terms of improving our health, reversing our diabetes, and getting off of those medications. That's what we're doing. If you're new to me, also go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music to let you know that we are excited and glad that you're here. If you have questions, go ahead and pop those questions into our chat. Make sure you put a Q in front of those because we want to make sure that we get to that and let you know what's been going on and answer those questions for you. We've got some good things that we're going to be taking a look at here in just a little while. I've got my monitors, I've got my meters, I've got my Dexcom Clarity reports that we're going to take a look at, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on the channel as we are moving through this week, okay? So first thing I want you to know is as we are continuing to improve the channel, improve what we're doing, improve the process of getting good results in our metabolic space, lots of things that we've done, and I'm going to pull up for you right now on the YouTube channel. We've made some changes that you want to be aware of. If you've been with us for the last several weeks, you've heard me say this over and over, but it is with the intention of letting you know that we've made some good changes to the channel. Let me go ahead and I'm going to pop over there right now so you can see what's been going on. On the channel, we've got everything set up so that you are able to now get there, and there should be two playlists that you see when you get to the channel. One is called Start Here. You'll see that there. That is the list of videos that we've curated, that we've put together, that allows you to kind of walk through this process that we've on, this journey that we've been on. Journey of improved metabolism, improved health, and this journey of reversing these metabolic diseases. The second playlist that you'll see there is one that says this week's videos. So if you're interested in finding out what we're doing this week, what are we talking about this week, what are the topics for this week? What did I eat for the last meal before the fast? What am I going to eat for the first meal after the fast? All those videos will be here in addition to the videos on our strength, strategy, and mindset. We are currently on day number 116, y'all. That's right, 116. And if you add that all up, actually, let me come back over here. Let's talk about that. So if you add that all up, let's see, here we go. If you add that all up, that turns out to be 225 days that we've been doing this, right? It's our MOVE campaign, metabolic optimization via exercise. We did a 100-day walk to consistency, and then currently in our series on strength, strategy, and mindset. And if you saw the last time that the last several videos, we were on vacation, and on vacation we did several videos where one of them I was actually on the beach. Right? I was actually on the beach and doing the exercises from there. So make sure you get over there and make sure you watch that episode. Well, those episodes. I said watch that episode, but there were several episodes that we did from the beach because we just wanted you to know that we're not stopping what we're doing just because we are out of our routine. As in fact, this is a part of who we are now. This is how we roll. This is how we move. This is how we get the benefits. And we're not allowing, whether it's scheduling or either scheduling or weather or anything else that is going on to prevent us from doing what we need to do. So we're going to take a look at here. I've got my meters off to the side. I've got my Dexcom clarity report that's down below that we're going to take a look at as we move through the space this evening. All right. So why don't we just go ahead and let's hop over there and let's look at that right now. So what you'll be looking at right now, this is my Freestyle Libre. This is the Libre Plus, and right now you see it says that my blood sugar is 64. And then if you scroll down here, you'll see this is what my graph looks like over the last 12 hours. And I can actually put my finger on that, and we can take a look at what those numbers have been. So earlier in the day, we were 70s, 70s, 70s. And then right about 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, we dipped below 70. And we've kind of remained that way, not kind of, but we remained that way up until where we are right now. If I go to the insights and look at the graphs, we're going to take a look at the reports, and my time in range, looking at this number right here, I'm 97% in range, with the range, of course, being 70 to 180. And then you see 3% of those numbers are out of range and they are low. So 3% of low over the last 7 days. If I go to the 90-day average, you see right there that I'm in target 87% of the time and I'm low 13% of the time. So putting those together, that gives us our 100%. And then let's go ahead and let's take a look at what my Dexcom my G7 is saying. It says that my blood sugar right now is 81, so off, but close to what the number is right now on the Freestyle Libre. As you know, the Dexcom tends to be a little higher than the Libre. And then scrolling down here, this is a similar graph to what we saw before. This is a 24-hour graph, so I can put my finger on this and scroll through and see what those numbers have been. And so right now, looking at that in the 90s to low 100s. The highest I saw was right here, about 122. If I go back right around 6 o'clock, and I always check that because that's what I call my toothpaste effect. And then for the rest of the day, in the low 100s, and then getting to the 90s, dropped down below 70 a couple of times, or near 70, then not below 70. Below 80, definitely 77, 79, and then down to where we are right now at 81. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's take a look at what our numbers are on the meters. So I've got a Keto Mojo, I've got the Contour, and let's go ahead and grab. This is a brown for glucose, a blue for ketones, that's for the Keto Mojo. Let's grab a strip out of here for the Contour. And I'll also grab a Lancet. I'll only take one this time. I may need another one, but we'll see. All right, so first let's get the strip in for, that's the Contour. And I'm going to put this down and go ahead and start opening this up. All right, so this is the Keto Mojo glucose strip. And while that's warming up, I'm going to go ahead and open up the ketone one as well, because I don't want to have to stick myself a second time. All right, so here is the Lancet. Go ahead and get that opened up. Grab a finger, and let's get a poke. And ow, 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 ow. And that was a brisk drop so we can get that going. And while that's going, go ahead and put in what do you think my ketones are going to be. And here we are 33 hours into this week's fast. 33 hours. And let's go back over here. So 74 for the Keto Mojo, 68 for the Contour, 89 right there for the Dexcom. And let's scroll back over and let's see. And here is my Libre, and the Libre right now is saying 63. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and get this one out because I want to get those ketones going. And go ahead and drop in the chat, what do you think my ketones are going to be? And let's go ahead and get a drop of blood here. Get that one started. All right, in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So ketones 1.2, 1.2, what my ketones are right now. Very good. So 1.2. And so let's go ahead and I'm going to get over to my Keto Mojo app. I'm going to pull that over because there's a couple of things that I want to point out there in conversation. As you know, when we talk about ketones, less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 are considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. Now, one of the, and I actually did a video for this last night to send to one, well, not some, to send into our community because we had one of our community members that had some questions about ketones. And let's talk a little bit about this. So ketones, once again, that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and above 1.5 considered nutritional therapeutic ketosis. Now, you've heard me say that over and over. And I usually don't go above saying 1.5. Above 1.5 is therapeutic ketosis. But 1.5 to about 5, 5.5 is usually what we want ketones to be. Above that, now, above that is not, I'm being cautious with the words I use. I don't want to say it's not dangerous, depending on the situation. Okay, so because you can have higher ketones and not have that be a problem. But for some people, when we have a low blood sugar and ketones that are above 5.5-ish, up to about 6, you want to be cautious as you are monitoring what's going on in your body. Because if you're not careful, if you are not remaining hydrated, if you're not paying attention to your electrolytes and what's going on, you can end up having lightheadedness, dizziness, sweatiness, and some of those complications. And actually, it can cause other symptoms. Okay, now you've not heard me say that before, but when we are doing the ketones, we want to be careful as we're monitoring. You heard me several months ago now talking about hydration and how, and let's get over here, and how hydration was very important. And at the time, I wasn't doing a good job of hydrating. And we talked about my lightheadedness, dizziness, sweatiness, and so forth. So once again, ketones that are less than 0.5 considered normal, 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis, but we typically are looking for ketones between 1.5 and 5, 5.5, maybe 6. Above that, if you're at that place or above that, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on in your body. Make sure you're hydrating, make sure you're looking at your electrolytes and so forth, okay? So we want you to be safe. We want you to fast, but we want you to be safe as you are fasting as well. All right. Okay, so let's go back and let's take a look at these numbers. So we're looking at these numbers right here. The big number, that's called my GKI, or glucose keto index. The gray number that you see there is my glucose, and then of course the blue is the ketone. I guess that's brown, right? So yeah, brownish gray. And so the big number that you see is actually a ratio of my glucose to my ketones. And so you're looking at that number right now and you're saying, wait a minute, if I divide 74 by 1.2, that doesn't give me 3.4. But what you want to do there is you want to convert it to international units. And so let me go ahead. I'm going to see if I can pull this up really quickly. Let's see, GKI. And if you go on the internet, you can find different places, different calculators that will do this for you. And I'm just pulling up one that's related to the meter that I have. So let's go over here. And so you will take this and you plug in what your numbers are. And right now my glucose is 74, if you recall. Actually, I should be able to, let's do it this way so you can see everything. There we go. So 74, and then my ketones were 1.2. And if I calculate, then I get that 3.4 number that you see there. Let me go ahead and I'll pull up a calculator. We can actually do this manually. Let's go back over here. All right, so if I take 74 and divide it by 18, that gives me my international number. And then if I divide that by 1.2, let's get back, 1.2, then that gives me that big number that we saw that was right there in the middle. And so we usually want the ketones to be high, we want the glucose to be low, and we want the GKI to be low as well. Okay, so that's that when we look at those numbers, that's what we're looking at. And then let's go ahead and let's take a look at the graphs. Because this is always instructive, because a couple points that I want to make here. So right now, in the turquoise line that you see there, the dashed turquoise line, that is those are ketones, and then the gray solid line that you see, that's blood sugar. And so notice, as my blood sugar has gone down, then the ketones went up. And the reason for that is that ketones and insulin can't exist in the same space for long. When insulin is out, then ketones go away. That's why it's difficult for you to get into true fat burning and efficient fat burning when blood sugars are high, because insulin also is high at that same time. And so that causes challenges with the glucose, with the fat burning, and so ketones tend to not be as high. So right now, as my blood sugar has gone down, then my ketones have gone up, and that's exactly what we expect and exactly what we want to happen. All right, so let's go ahead, and I am going to do a quick check-in here because I want to talk about where I am. And so right now, when we talk about our fasting, three places or three things that we typically want to talk about: how we're feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. And those are important because those are also three of the domains of health that we talk about, right? So physical, mental, emotional. And this is where people tend to have their most difficult time when it comes to fasting. Physically, lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, which comes often in a combination, because of a combination of things. Either we're not well rested, or we're not paying attention to our hydration and our electrolytes. And so you'll see me drinking, as we're on the show, you'll see me sipping, because it is a cue to me when we're fasting, because people tend not to be, people are not eating, they also don't think about drinking. And so we want to make sure that we're doing a good job there as well. So physically, right now, I'm feeling energetic. I'm not feeling as though I'm lightheaded, sweaty, dizzy, any of those things that people will talk about. So that's physically. Mentally, because this goes along with our physical health or our physical situation at the time, if you're tired, you know that sometimes you don't think as clearly. And right now, I'm not having any fogginess in my thought. I'm not feeling as though I am dull or I'm in a bubble or any of those phrases that people will use. And then emotionally, we've had great things happening in the community, great things happening with me personally, with my family. In fact, my cousin was just visiting us, and which was a surprise. And so we spent some time together this afternoon, just reminiscing. This is, a cousin that I grew up with and lived with while we were in college, and he was my college roommate, and just had a great time. And so coming on the show on the heels of that, and if you're watching right now, hey, glad, I was so excited to see you, man. Love you. All right, so that's our check-in. Let's go ahead now and let's get over and let's take a look at what's going on with my Dexcom Clarity report. And let's take a look right now here. My average is 112. That's my 14-day average. We usually tell people we want their average to be between 100 and 120, and so that's where we are. We're in target 98% of the time, with our target being anywhere from 70 to 180, and my glucose management indicator is a 6.0. So if I were to get an A1C based on this, then I'll expect it to be a 6.0. Go back, it was last week or week before, we did our show that showed all of my labs, right? So I showed you what my lab work actually was when I saw my doctor about a month ago. And so go back and watch that show, and we kind of walk through all of the different important lab values when we talk about metabolic disease and monitoring. So make sure you get back there and you watch that. And then now if I go to a 90-day view, my average is 115, with my time in target or time in range 98%, target being 70 to 180, and my glucose management indicator being a 6.1. And then hopping over to our reports, and I want to go back to where we were. Let's start right in here. And this is where we were yesterday as we started our fast at time 0. And so at time 0, started with a blood sugar of about 120, 122. And yesterday I ate, what did I eat? I had a salad with some kale. So kale salad with a salad I got down from the cafeteria that had lettuce, broccoli, cheese. It had banana peppers, and then a hamburger patty with cheese, like you guys know that I do. And then I had my favorite dressing here in town, which was some horseradish and some Caesar. And so that's what I did. And so let's see what happened to my blood sugar. So 120s is where we started. And we want those blood sugars to stay relatively stable. And so we 120s, 128. So we spiked up there to 127 as we got into the rest of the day. And then 110s, 132, 127, right? So going into the rest of the evening, boom, 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 right? So 110s again. And then coming into today, right? Dropping down to low 100s, down into the 90s, into the 80s, fluctuating a little bit there, and that right there is my toothpaste effect. And then coming down, 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 down as we got into the rest of the day, and down into 90s, down to where we are right now, into the 80s. And so that's what we want when we are getting into the fast. The food that we eat, coming into the fast, very important, because that helps us as we move into the fast and sets us up for what happens in the fast. Because if we're coming in with foods that are highly processed, highly sugary, then that will cause some issues for us as we get into the fast, because then we have those cravings and it just, it gets interesting. All right, now let's go ahead and let's say hello to some of our community members. I see you guys out there, and let's grab some of these comments. And I do see a couple questions that we'll get to there. All right, so let's start from the top. So Gian is saying, hi, doctor. And hey, Jion, thank you for coming through. Hi, LLG family. Oh, there we go. Jennifer saying howdy all. Jion says hi. Jennifer, hello, Jion from Jennifer. Bowie saying hi, everyone. Hi, Bowie. And Bowie, congratulations, by the way. If you guys were on earlier today, you saw that she had some amazing benefits or amazing results with her lab work over the course of the last, when she got her last lab work. And so we're always excited when we see those benefits that community members are getting. And Gion says, how are you all? Linking user says, great TIR, time and range. Thank you. Time and range. And Bowie says, hi, Gion. My doctor says my A1C was 5.8, so I'm very happy. Right, so you are, Bowie. Boom. Awesome, awesome. And LinkedIn user, thank you for coming through. And I didn't give you a hand clap and some music, so let's do that right now. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. And then Bowie says, how is your father doing? So asking for Gian. And our hearts continue to go out with you, Gian, as you take care of your family. Jennifer says, hi, Bowie. I'm doing great. Planted my fall crop of green beans and peas this weekend. Yay. Hi, Jennifer. That sounds so good. Gian says, amazing, Bowie. Great job. I love the A1C number. Thank you for asking about my dad. He is fine, but takes time to get back to normal. Thank you. Bowie wants to say, hi, Jennifer. That sounds great. Is peas easy to grow? Jennifer says, awesome. Or Gian says, Jennifer, awesome. And so LinkedIn user has a question, says, do you find Keto Mojo to be the accurate keto meter? I have it, and Keto BM, ketones will be 3.5 to 4. And let's parse that a little bit. Do you find the Keto Mojo to be an accurate meter? And the Keto Mojo is an accurate meter. I always have to put caveats in there. So generally speaking, I'm going to say yes. Okay, when I compare it to other meters that are out there, I get a pretty good number. Now, one of the interesting things when we talk about ketones is just like blood sugar, right? So if I get and let's go back and let's take a look at, let's go over here. Let's go back and let's take a look at these guys, right? So here I am. So this is my Libre. My Libre says 64. My Dexcom says 82. And when we go back and we look at the Keto Mojo says 74. And I don't remember what the contour said. I think the contour was like 68 or something. So all of those numbers are different and are still considered to be relatively the same. So with glucose numbers, with meters, they're allowed to be about 20% off, okay, and within reason. So just like that, ketone meters also can have different numbers, but generally speaking, they are all pretty, well, not all, but they're generally accurate. And I do find the Keto Mojo to be a pretty accurate one. And then I'm not sure if LinkedIn user, whether you were commenting about my ketones at the time and guessing that my ketones would be 3.5 to 4, but mine were 1.4? I think it was 1.2. Let's go back. Let's see, I don't remember. So ketones, my ketone, what were they? 1.2 is what my ketone was. My ketones were. All right. So Gian says 1.5. So Gian, I think you were guessing. And then Bowie says, Doctor, I'm new to CGMs. When should we worry about low glucose readings? I get a lot of low alerts while sleeping last night. Okay. Good question. And I love these questions, and I'm gonna go ahead and star that. And LinkedIn user, I'm gonna star yours as well, because I think we could just create a Q&A, commonly asked questions with some of these. So let's talk about glucose numbers. So normal blood sugars are anywhere from 70 to 99. That's a normal, everybody in the world sugar. For diabetics, we say, hey, because you're diabetic, we allow your blood sugar to go up a little higher. So if you look at the meters themselves, in the range for the target, they'll say 70 to 180, which is a pretty wide range, 70 to 180. We don't want people to be living in blood sugars of 170, 180, right? That is not what we want. So people say, well, why do they give us that range? Well, it's a safety range. It's hey, generally speaking, if you kind of maintain within this range, then you're okay. I tell my patients, I want your numbers to be between 100 and 120. Because if you have 100 to 120, then we know that your A1C is going to be at the range that we want you to be. And in fact, when you look at the different organizations, the American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists and the American Diabetic Association, their normal range, or the range that they tell people they want you to be in, is between 6.5 and 7. Well, less than 7, right? 6.5 to less than 7. That's it. When we look at the diagnosis of normal A1C, pre-diabetic A1C, and diabetic A1C, a normal A1C is less than 5.7. 5.7 to 6.4 is considered pre-diabetic, and above 6.4, 6.5 actually, 6.5 and above is considered diabetes, right? So I wanted to put some perspective and some background. So now let's go back to the question that's at hand, is when should we start worrying? So blood sugars that are less than 70, we don't want. That's considered hypoglycemia, or low blood sugars. Now, I always have to add something in there. If I go out and I find someone who is very athletic, someone who is very fit, and I monitor their blood sugars all the time, then their blood sugars tend to be actually below 70 a lot of the time, because their body is so efficient at doing what it needs to do that the blood sugars don't rise. I mean, like we won't find someone who's very fit, who's very active, who's very athletic. Their blood sugars won't be 99. It'll be lower. And those are still considered normal because they're not having any issues. Make sense? Right. So let's go now to talk about a diabetic. Because diabetics tend to be on medication, we don't want blood sugars to be less than 70. If you are not on medication, if you're exercising, if you are fit, a blood sugar that's 70 or even less can be normal for you if you're not having symptoms. But when you're on medication, the medication continues to drive the blood sugar down. And that's where we run into trouble. Okay? Now, once again, getting more and more into the question that you're asking. So the monitors will have blood sugars that will drop or be indicating that your blood sugar is dropping or your blood sugar is actually low. I tell people, until you become comfortable, when you see that number, double check it with a finger stick. So just like in our case, say my blood sugar according to the Dexcom is 82. Well, my blood sugar according to my Libre was 64. So there's a difference between those two. So if I'm using a Dexcom, the Dexcom says I'm great. If I'm using a Libre, the Libre says I'm low. And so as you saw, all the 4 different meters that I have, the 2 CGMs and the 2 finger sticks, they all had different numbers. And so we are, so what I tell people to do is, until you become familiar with how your numbers are different according to the CGM, do a finger stick to double check it. Okay? I know that was a long answer to your question, but I wanted to put some background, some perspective, and walk us through there, because there are a lot of questions that we can answer by actually just talking about yours. All right. So, Bowie, if that answers your question, say yes. If you have additional questions, go ahead and pop those in, because I want to make sure that we do that. Let's see. Right. So low alerts, and it's interesting that people will tend to have low alerts most often when they are at nighttime, or it seems that way, because I don't know if that's because we're not eating that much at the time, or sometimes. Well, the other point to make about that is sometimes when you're sleeping, you can lay on the sensor and maybe the connection is not that great, and so you get an abnormal number. So you may have seen me sometimes when I show my graph, there'll be a number. Like I think we had one a couple of days ago, and it says 50, and I said, "Oh, I don't believe that," right? Because the numbers around it were normal. Okay. All right. Let's see. And then let's get over here. So LinkedIn user says, "How much sodium per day do you recommend to stay hydrated while on a ketogenic diet or fasting?" Well, interesting question. So thank you for that, by the way. So general guidelines are 200 to 300, 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of sodium per day, which is about 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of salt. For people who are on a ketogenic diet, if you're fasting, 3,000 to 4,000 or 5,000 would be something keeping in what the recommendations are right now. Okay. And then Steve says, "Congratulations." And Steve says, "Hello, ladies." Gian says, "Hi, Steve." And Bowie says, "Yes." Okay, good. So Bowie is saying that did answer her question. All right. So what we want to do is I want to take some time and jump into our discussion as we move into our talk. Very interesting one. So let's go ahead and let's do that. Let's get back over here. So let's go ahead and let's do that right now. Actually, I'm going to do that one more time, guys. Right, here we go. All right, so in our discussion for tonight, for this episode, what I want to do is I want to take you inside the 33-hour mark of fasting, what I call the reset window, right? So this is the moment when you've moved past the starting excitement, but you're not all the way to the finish line yet. It's the third quarter, and it's where most people either lose momentum or they build momentum. Okay, so let's jump in and let's talk. The first thing, and so we're talking about finishing strong, and this is a part of our bridge into the finishing strong blueprint. So we were doing play your own game, and which was this idea that in order for us to do things that were consistent, things that were long-term, that we had to play it our way. We couldn't rely on other people's, comparing ourselves to other people or what other people were doing. Like, they're fasting longer than me. They're running faster than me. Their ketones are higher than mine, right? So that whole idea. Because what that sets up is it sets us up either to overreach, meaning that we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? Those people who are doing the things that we think we should be doing, or we throw our hands up in, just exhaustion. Like I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And so we don't want to be in either of those spaces. And so as we are saying, okay, how do we progress? How do we make sure that we are going to do the things we want to do? The first thing we got to do is we want to talk about finishing strong. So as people have done New Year's resolutions and they've done, hey, I'm going to do this month, this year. I'm going to do this month. When my birthday comes, and people say all kinds of things. We want to say, okay, it's great. That's great. It's great to start, but let's make sure that we finish strong. So let's dive into why this window matters so much for your body, for your mind, and of course, your ability to finish strong. So let's talk about the midpoint reset. The midpoint reset. Well, this is an interesting space to be in, right? Because what's going on in the body is very important at this point. So at 33 hours, we've mentioned before that the glycogen stores are depleting. That's the store of sugar that's in your body, in your liver, and in your muscles. And pretty much what's in the liver is gone. Your body is switching, or has switched from burning sugar. It's changed those gears from burning sugar, and it's moving into a steady source of energy, which comes from the fat. And that's the primary source of fuel right now. That's why you may feel a shift, and why I say, hey, if you're not well rested, then you can feel this like more profoundly than normal. So hunger isn't as sharp at this point. Your energy feels more even, and it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm dropping, I'm fluctuating. And your brain is starting to notice, hey, we've got some ketones. This is some important stuff. I love this. I love how this feels. I love how this tastes. Oh yeah, come on, give me some more of this, right? So this is the reset moment. It's not about the adrenaline of starting anymore, right? So I have said before that when I'm approaching a fast, I get excited because there are so many benefits that I'm envisioning. When I get into a fast, I don't have to worry about the food noise. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat. And so for me, this is an exciting time. Well, if I'm not careful, that excitement, that doesn't last. It actually wears off. The adrenaline of getting into a fast, very important, very interesting. And that adrenaline, the cortisol, all the stuff that comes out for, and is part of a stress on the body, by the way. So when you first start fasting, it is a stress on the body. So those epinephrine, the cortisol levels go up, and that wears off 12 hours, maybe 18 hours ago. Now it's about strategy. Think of it like a game, right? So the third quarter doesn't make the highlight reel, but every coach knows it's where the momentum is built or the momentum is lost. So you've come out. It's the third quarter. Either you're up, right, and you're taking this to the end of the game, or you're down and you've got to start digging in. That's why I call this the reset window. Right here is where you either reset and strengthen, or you drift and you stall. This moment right now, this is where all of that begins to happen. And so let's go ahead, let's talk a little bit about the metabolic advantage of where we are right now. Now, let's peel back the curtains a little further. Insulin at this stage is at its lowest point so far in the fast. And hopefully, because of how you ate coming into the fast, it's at its lowest point that it may get, depending on what the blood sugars do coming coming into the rest of the fast. That means that your fat cells are finally opening up. Because we just said that when insulin goes down, that gives a signal to the body that you can start burning. So those fat cells that were closed because insulin was higher, now they're beginning to open up. Or they have opened, actually. Because we said, 24 to 36 hours. So we're 33 hours now. So yeah, boom. So your body is pulling energy from your own reserves. Your body has gone to the pantry now and it's saying, hey, all the stuff in the refrigerator, my blood sugar is good. The refrigerator is empty. I need some of the stored stuff that I have now stored away in the pantry, in those fat cells. I need you to give it back to me. So we're burning sugar, or we're burning fat. Autophagy, which is that cleanup process, is gaining traction. Your body is cleaning house. That's why we call fasting the reset button. It's breaking down damaged protein. It's recycling old parts. The parts that are misshapen, not being used. This is a deep healing you can't get when you're eating. Let me make that point for you. When you're eating, autophagy doesn't get revved up like this. So if we're going to say, hey, we want healing, if we want to rev this up and we want to get that recycling process going, then fasting, right, taking away those nutrients, taking away the calories that we're putting in, has to happen. And then the third thing is inflammation. So studies show that inflammatory markers start dipping around this stage. Your body is dialing down the fire. So all those inflammatory things that are good, people who have rheumatoid arthritis, people who have any of the connective tissue diseases, people who have vitiligo and alopecia, people who are struggling with other inflammatory processes, it begins improving right here. But here's the part I love. Mental clarity happens. Around the 30 to 36 hour time, the brain begins to rely more heavily on ketones. That's why some of you may, at this time, say, I feel sharper, I feel lighter, I feel like my mentation, I'm making connections that I wasn't making before. This is what's going on. These advantages only show up if you stay in the fast long enough to get here. And most people, right, at the fast, at the junction, when their body is just now starting to switch over, then we quit or we end the fast. Now, you hear me say all the time that my encouragement is that people work their way up to be able to fast at least a 24-hour once a week. That is the beginning. If we are pushing our metabolism further, pushing for better, pushing for more profound influence and more profound benefits, then the longer fasts, we'll talk more about those. The longer fast gives us that deep reset that we're looking for. So at 33 hours, oh yeah, fat's being burned, autophagy is in gear, inflammation is decreasing, my body is in the healing mode. My body's ready, it's set, and it's waiting for what comes next. And the question is, do we continue in using the metabolic advantage? Okay? All right, so when we get that metabolic advantage, now we got to talk about the mind game. Let's talk about the other battlefield, right? One of the battlefields is physically. But the other thing that's going on is what's happening up here. So at 33 hours, the voices show up. Why am I doing this? Maybe I should stop here. Does this really matter? Am I getting the benefits that I need? That's not weakness, that's feedback. This is where resilience becomes rhythm. Resilience isn't bouncing back after you quit. It's staying aligned in the moment of pressure. That's where rhythm comes in. Rhythm protects your hydration. It protects your routines. It protects your sleep schedule. It protects your movement cues. Rhythm. Remember, rhythm, alignment, structure. Those little anchors, they keep you from making big mistakes in the foggy moment because there is a structure already in place. I don't have to decide. I don't have to make a decision every time. So instead of asking, can I finish? We want to ask is, what rhythm do I need to protect today? Remember, rhythm is that bent, that thing that you say you want. Rhythm is the course that you have charted. Rhythm is, where am I heading? What am I about? What is my goal? What is my why? That's my rhythm. And are we going to protect it? And that's the mind game. That's what's going on. So there's a third quarter decision. And let's look at that. Let's think about this analogy. So halftime is where coaches adjust. But the third quarter, that's when you prove if the adjustment works. The same thing happens in the fasting. At 33 hours, you've made adjustments. Maybe you've corrected your electrolytes. Maybe you shifted your walking to morning instead of evening. Maybe you slowed down your day so that you don't spike blood sugars, that your stress doesn't go up. This is the quarter to test it. So you've made some changes back then, but are they working? And so here's your question that I want you to ask. What's the one rhythm that you need to prevent this week? What's the one rhythm? Let me say it again. What's the one rhythm that you need to protect this week to finish strong? Remember, we're finishing strong. But what rhythm, what one thing, what one why do I need to protect this week so I can finish strong? What does that look like? And so here's your reset window. Here's your takeaway. If you win the middle ground, the finish is already decided. If you win here, then the finish is already a given. It's kind of like on the games where the team comes out and they dug in and they're playing and they're making points and they're doing the fundamentals. Something happened in the locker room. Something happened in the huddle. Something happened that inspired them. And one person catches on fire and they're making shots or they're running or they're intercepting and they're getting the ball and they're moving the ball down the road. Something happened in the third quarter that shifted. And now we're seeing those consistent changes and steps. We're seeing the benefits that's happening. And what I love is sometimes at the end of, and it's not end yet, right? So we're in the fourth quarter and everybody's playing. And there comes a point where the team realizes that we have done what we need to do. And at this moment, there's no way for the other team to catch up. Right? So it's the fourth quarter. You're up by 20 points. And you've got 2 minutes to go. Right? So they're taking timeouts. They're huddling. And everybody's playing. And you're like, okay, so they've got to get like a bunch of three-pointers. They got to, not foul. We can't, they got to make sure we don't get any points. Yeah. If we win here, if we win health-wise, if we win in this moment, then the decision for where we end up in our fast has already been made. Momentum is built here. Momentum isn't built at the end. It's built here. It's the consistent actions that we take that build on each other, that take us to where we want to be. Games are won in the third quarter. Fasts are won here as well, as we move from the third quarter into the fourth quarter. Picture this. It's a marathon. The first few miles are crowded with cheering spectators, but the last mile is lined with cameras. The middle, that's quiet. That's where character shows up. Everybody's excited at the beginning. Like everybody's there. Yeah, let's go. And then down at the finish line, oh yeah, everybody's there because they want to capture that. But those middle places, yeah. So this right now is your reset window. And you want to own the reset window. If we own this right now, if we do what we need to do, the consistent things that we need to do here, getting good rest, making sure we're hydrated, making sure that we are managing our stress well, making sure that we are not overexerting ourselves, making sure that we are staying in community, making sure we're following those protocols that we've put in place, the structure, then we finish strong. We finish strong because we owned the in-between. We owned the middle ground. So here's your takeaway. I want you to keep this. Fasting is not won at the start. It's not won at the finish. It's won in the middle. The 33-hour window is your reset window, your third quarter. If you can hold your rhythm and execute here, the finish at the 56 or the 72 or whatever the hour is going to be is already decided. Because that comes as a result of what you do here. So as we play our own game, as we work to finish strong, owning this, owning the middle ground, owning the halfway, owning what's happening right now, and saying, I'm going to make sure that I am consistent and I'm doing those little things, I'm doing the fundamentals, becomes so important as you play your game. And as we move from playing our game to finishing strong, we continue to talk about the blueprint coming up. Keep watching. We'll be right back. All right. So let's bring it home. Right? So what are your reflections? Drop some in the chat. What did you learn? Tell me one thing you learned tonight. Usually I tell you what to put in the chat. I say put yes, put no, put one, put whatever. But I want you to process from it. What did you learn? What's one thing that you learned tonight? Okay? What one rhythm are you protecting this week? Let's celebrate each milestone in the community. We've seen some amazing ones. You've seen Boy talking about her 5.8. right? Earlier today on our show, we shouted out Cornelia, who's having amazing metabolic benefits. You've seen Jennifer, who's in our community, who is always putting in what she's planting and eating. You see Steve, who's talking about the benefits he's getting metabolically as well. You see Gian, who was, by the way, off taking care of her dad and showed up in the community and was just excited that the benefits that she's getting by walking the path are showing up in other areas of our life. You guys see Pam, who's in the chat tonight, who is continuing to experience good benefits and continuing to keep a mindset, right? Mastering mindset, continuing to keep a mindset that's pushing her further despite other things that might be going on. So finishing strong, whether we're fasting or other areas of our lives, finishing strong has to do with what happens right now. You're in the middle. You're in the third quarter. You're in the in-between. And what happens now in this moment ultimately determines what happens down there. And so we're finishing strong. We're not letting this stop us from doing anything that we need to do. We're showing up with our best self, our best health, and our best plans. And after all, that is, right, what Limitless Living says. Amazing, amazing, amazing idea and thoughts that we have in the community. All right, so let's go back and let's see. Let's grab some of these comments. Let's see, where were we? We left off. Bowie was saying yes. Jennifer says, hey, Steve. Jennifer says, my CGM goes low at night. If I get up and move, it'll bounce for me. When I'm fasting or hitting ketones, it goes low too. Yeah. So sometimes the CGMs have odd numbers when we sleep because we're laying on it. There are times when mine goes off and says you've disconnected, and my phone is right there, and so I'm right here. So I disregard that. Okay. So LinkedIn user says, great content, Dr. Woode. Really appreciate your insights and expertise. The third quarter decision leading to the fourth quarter win analogy was spot on for fasting and life overall. Justin, what's up, Justin? Okay, Justin put his name in there. Yeah. Justin, we give you official welcome, man. Awesome. And then Junior said, my reflection is always aware every moment. Just be aware. Yep, just be aware. Steve said, Beth finishes of 60 hours. Oh, man, Steve, can she hear this? I hope she can hear this. Beth, I'm so proud. So proud, so excited for you. Congratulations. Gian says, wow, that's really impressive, Steve. Wow, Steve. She's killing it. She is. Normal blood sugar, so wait, but keep doing fast. So Gion's asking, has she gotten those metabolic benefits, and is she still continuing to fast? Is the idea. And that actually is a great question that we'll need to come back and address. And the reason I say that is the question, and as we get into Blueprint, right? As we get into Blueprint, and you'll hear me start talking about the new what we're doing in the new year. The question is going to be, and you want to start thinking about it now, is this idea of long term, right? So all the things that we do, all the things that we have done, all the things that we've learned, all the benefits that we've gotten, we're not in it for right now. We're in it for the long haul, because our goal is not just to have a blood sugar of 100 right now. It is, how do we keep that blood sugar over the long haul? How do we keep you alive as long as possible? And how do we keep you as healthy as possible? That's the goal. And that has to do with long term. So great question there that you put in the chat, Gion. We'll come back and we'll actually expand on that. We'll go deeper into that idea of long-term benefit and how do we maintain that. So thank you for popping that in. So thank you for putting that there for us. And so as we talk about what we do here, and as I talk about how I teach and how I think, the channel, the blogs, the podcast, all of that is designed as part of the Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We change the mindset with the shows, with the education. We give you tools with the empowerment, and we give you support with the community, encouragement, so that all three of those components come together, and when they work together, then we are setting ourselves up for success over the long haul. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. As we move through the rest of this week, we'll have, of course, our fasting check-in tomorrow. We'll have our show tomorrow night at 56 hours. And then on Friday, come on by, because you get to see what I eat for the first time in 72 hours as we talk about how to prepare for a fast, how to get into a fast and get through successfully, and then how to break the fast. You get to see what I eat for the first time. On Saturday, we'll have this video from the vault as we look back at some of those pivotal shows that we've had on the channel. And then on Sunday morning, This Week in Review at 6 a.m. Central. And then next Monday, we'll be right back here for Dwain Woode, MD Live, as we continue our path on finishing strong. So excited to be here. So glad that I get a chance to walk along with you and to see the benefits that you're having. Remember, Limitless Living says that we are not allowing anything from outside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We are breaking through the boundaries. We're breaking through those borders. We're breaking through the obstacles, and we're presenting with our best selves, our best health, and our best plans. We're living those limitless lives. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications. Go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. Good night, everybody.